I'm out in my backyard and I am looking at an object over 2 million light years away, and I want you to come join me and check it out. All right, I'm Stargazer Mark, and so glad that you joined me today to stay star curious as we're going to take you out in your backyard and show you some wonders that three wonderful objects up in your night sky tonight. All right. My co producer, Marty Winkle, is at the helm here. We had a few technical problems, but thank you all for hanging with us there as we always try to go live at 4 o'clock, weekdays, Monday through Friday, and give you some backyard stargazing at least once a month as we want to get you outside away from your devices and enjoy the universe. That's what it's there for, and you're part of it. We're made of star stuff, so to speak, and it's interesting to know about objects like this, the what was once called the Great Nebula of Andromeda, and later, just 125 years ago, corrected that it's full of stars. It's not a gaseous body. It is a galaxy like our Milky Way galaxy, and thus man expanded exponentially out into a vast, vast universe that we didn't barely understand 125 years ago. And I'm going to tune you in all that. If you want to keep track of the stars, one of the best places to do it is download a map from skymaps.org or .com. And this is the sky map for November 2025. And across the center of it is a blue band, and that blue band is the Milky Way. And everyone's going, Mark, the Milky Way's a summertime constellation. We're just, a week away from Thanksgiving. That's right. The Milky Way is actually a better object seen in October and November, as it's directly overhead when night falls and flops over in a couple hours or below the horizon as the autumn constellations take over. Right there in the middle, you see a square. See that square? Well, I'm going to look at it on my star chart here. You should all have a star chart. You should all have a red flashlight so that when you go outside and your eyes get dark adapted, the red light does not change that dark adaptation like white light does. So, like I always say, when you flip your lights out in the bedroom at night, you can't see anything, all right, because your eyes are small openings in your iris there, on your pupil. But in 5 or so minutes, there on the shelf, you see the clown staring at you that Aunt Judy got you. And you see over there maybe something laying on the floor that you forgot to pick up. So my point is, give yourself a few minutes outside, 10 minutes to dark adapt. Block the neighbor's light by getting behind the garage where you can't see it. Find a piece of sky that's relatively free of any light pollution and have at it. Your mind will love it and you will love it. And I'm going to show you a couple beautiful things to check out today. But this is a planisphere. You can also get these at your bookstore. You put along the edge the time and the date. So at 6 p.m. On November 18th, I put my sky chart there, and right in the middle is a big square, the giant square Pegasus. We've got Andromeda, the Ethiopian princess up there with her mom Cassiopeia, and a hero of sorts, Perseus, one of the great heroes of Greek mythology, is going to save the day in a story that's in the sky that I'm going to share with you in just a minute, so stay curious. Here is a picture of the sky looking to show you that this is a part of the sky where Cassiopeia, which is a W-shaped constellation, or M, and you faintly see the Milky Way in this part of it there, but you see planes going across there. Those are planes because they're blinking. All right. Marty, the moon is 28 days old. All right. So 28 days old, it tells you on the far left side that the moon is rising with the sun in the morning sky. It's going to be a thin crescent tomorrow morning, if you can see it at all, because 29 days is new moon. And so the moon's going to be above the sun all day long the next couple days. You're not going to see it in the daytime sky. You couldn't see it. It's not being illuminated. It's between the earth in the sun. So we see we see our forward side of it that faces the Earth, but there's no light shining on it. A little bit of light reflects off the Pacific Ocean, and we might see that come Thursday or Friday when you're going to see a 3-day old moon, crescent moon on the other side, starting to jump into our night skies. And then as we get to past first quarter, which is 7 days old, the moonshine blots out all but the brightest stars, including blotting out the Andromeda Galaxy that I'm going to tell you about here in just a minute. The legends in the sky of Perseus and Andromeda is quite a story. Perseus was a spoiled brat, let's face it. Her mom was vain as could be. They both grew up with attendants having mirrors so they could make sure that their hair was in place. This is the mythology of it. And in the background there, that mean looking monster, that's Cetus the whale, or Cetus the monster, who stole Andromeda, chained her to a rock, and until Perseus came to save the day. Now, all of this is in the sky as outlined right here. And you go find, it's easy to find the W of Cassiopeia. Just look to the north and to the right, to the east of the north. You will see standing on its edge. Imagine this on its side. And it comes down like this, like the W is on its side. As you see, a lot of names are given to stars. And as you see, Almanac, Algenib, Alpheratz, Shiat, Mitar, Markab, Sandalmik, Enif. These are all Arabic names. So the stars mythology is Roman mythology, stolen from the Greeks, okay? The stars are named a lot of stars are given Arabic names because the Arabic astronomers were the most experienced in the cradle of civilization that we now call Iraq and Iran, right? Persia, it was back in the day. And they were the ones that wrote down the names to the stars. The Greeks and Egyptians just adopted those names. And then there's even Greek letters for the alphabet for those that aren't. So let's look at a couple objects way over at the bottom above my name there, executive producer, Fomalhaut. We're going to be talking about Fomalhaut. Fomalhaut has a solar system going around it that's forming. That if we could, it's larger than the full moon if we could see it, all right? The Great Square Pegasus there, that's what they call Pegasus in the middle. You see the square. You see Alpheratz in the upper left-hand corner of that square and Shiat in the upper right. That star Alpheratz is in a Rolling Stones song, okay? And I'll tell you what Mick Jagger says in a minute. What song does Mick Jagger sing about the star Alpheratz, all right? That's a good trivia question at your local sports bar tonight. Andromeda actually has, from Alpheratz down to where you see Merak in the Andromeda, that is where the Andromeda Galaxy is. I don't know why they don't show it here, but there's actually two other stars where the word Andromeda is, that sort of is like a V going off Pegasus, the horse there. Now the horse's body is the square. Enif means nose over there on the far right. That's Greek for nose. That is the head. He's flying upside down. And his feet extend out towards Cassiopeia, which is a circumpolar constellation. It never sets. We'll do a show on that later this month. And then Perseus is the hero, and that's kind of a Y-shaped. And rising above the horizon is Taurus the bull and the Pleiades there. But Fomalhaut's easy to see, and Cetus the whale is at the bottom with its brightest star, Diphtha. All right, and this, you can't hardly see the stars of Cetus, but it's a long drawn out constellation, yet it's there. In the middle of all this is Pisces the fishes. All right, now where you see Fomalhaut at the bottom, see the ecliptic that's spelt, I don't know why it's spelt like that. That's spelt in a, it's ECLIP. IC, is ecliptic, but see the little curve above the word ecliptic in red. Algenib is just to the left of it. That is where the planet Saturn is right now. And I'll show you another pattern of that. So the chain maiden, she is chained to a rock by Cetus the whale, who's ravishing her. It was all to get back at the Ethiopian queen Cassiopeia. Her husband, by the way, Cephas, is also to the far left and rising. And actually, Cephas is in the upper right, not shown here. So her husband's in the mix there, too. Uh, so all of these were real characters in Ethiopia and given names for some reason by the stargazers at the time. So Perseus comes in and saves the day. He just cut the head off the Gorgon, the Medusa. There's a great statue. Lots of statues of Perseus celebrated in the Greek and history of things there. And there's the Medusa whose hair was the gargoyle, Grogan. Her hair was snakes. She'd turn you to stone. Something that turns astronomers to stone right now is looking at the sky and seeing all of the satellites. These are Starlink satellites interfering with the astrophotography of this astrophotographer. And right up here is the constellation Sagittarius. Sagittarius, Cassiopeia. And this is the double cluster, two star clusters of hundreds of stars close to each other in Cephas, the hero. Perseus, the hero, Perseus is the hero. This is his stars. His future mother-in-law is right above him up there. And but look at all of the patterns of sunlight glinting off of satellites. This is a big problem. This was maybe an exposure of just a half an hour, taken probably close to twilight. So there is a computer algorithm to erase all this, but that's not desirable when data could be hidden. Again, there's the W up there of Cassiopeia. Its name stars, Kaf, Shedar, and so forth. There's a lot of hidden treasures there. That's what you see, M103 and NGC 663 in the upper left. There's the double cluster. Here is Alpheratz, all right? And there's how Andromeda goes, of two rows of stars off of Alpheratz, all right? And you see the oval is the Andromeda Galaxy. Now, it's easy to find Alpheratz. It's easy to see the trail of stars from your backyard. If you particularly see Myrick, the reddish star there in the middle, you put your binoculars on, you will see a fuzzy oval that is the Andromeda Galaxy. But 125 years ago, before the Hale telescope was built, the 200-inch on Mount Palomar, we thought this was a nebula because no photography was in vogue. Photography was in its infancy 125 years ago. Finally, they started taking pictures of objects through telescopes, and they discovered, lo and behold, this is a conglomerate of stars, just like our Milky Way. Now, we actually thought the Milky Way was the entire universe, all right, until they took photos of the Andromeda Galaxy and showed that, whoa, there's another oasis of stars, and it looks bigger than us and more stars, and thus become the change of thinking of mankind that Milky Way wasn't our universe. The universe out there is filled with Milky Ways, so to speak, of different sizes and shapes and so forth. So back to Alpheratz, and Mick Jagger, the Rolling Stones, singing "See You on Alpheratz" on the song 2,000 Light Years from Home, on the album Satanic Majesty's Request, the Rolling Stones answer to the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper. Kind of a spacey, funky, some good songs on it, and 2,000 Light Years from Home is a very good spacey song. And just at one point of it, you're 10,000 light years from home, and see you on Alpheratz. So I'm not going to sing it anymore for you there. Mick Jagger does a great job, but he says, I'll see you on Alpheratz. Why he chose that? How in the heck did he know Alpheratz? It's not really that bright of a star, but it's one you can see from your backyard as you all the stars of the uh, square of Pegasus are visible from your backyard. Here is the glorious photo taken of the Andromeda Galaxy, just tilted away from us from edge on, and pretty much a twin galaxy of our Milky Way. It's about twice the size of our Milky Way, and the gravitational attraction is drawing the two galaxies together. This is 2.5 million light years from home. Okay, and therefore this is the furthest object you can see with your naked eye. I can barely see it in my backyard because I know where to look. Then I put the binoculars on it. By the way, don't have your hands out here waving around. Lock your arms in your chest. Hold that barrel and put your eyes up there, and you'll get a little steadier view of other objects. And I know you got a pair of binoculars if you're a sports fan, particularly to watch things in stadiums, or if you're a birder and your 7x35 binoculars will show you wonders in your backyard you never saw. By the way, a nice tip there, Marty, is in the middle of every good pair of binoculars is a twist off tab there that has a screw in that you can put a $10 piece on it that sits like this, and you attach the bottom part to your tripod, and then you can see hands-free objects much better. So let's talk a little, just one more second, about this man, Edwin Hubble. Edwin Hubble, educated at the University of Chicago, went to Northwestern, a boxer, a big sports guy. He was a basketball player, not your typical nerd, okay, that you think about back in the day. Then he went to Oxford, Marty, to get more education. And in England for a couple years, he came back rocking a pipe and an English accent. And he kept that English accent all of his life. He became super famous when he looked at photographs like these and said, wait a minute, these are stars, and they're also Cepheid variables, a type of star that's used, so to speak, as a yardstick because they consistently change their brightness so you can tell how far away they are. Don't ask me how. This is why you go to college to learn things like this. But he said, wait a minute, these stars in this photograph show that this object is over 2 million light years away. All right, and this is a 1923, October 23 picture taken there. All right, when they were just discovering that the Milky Way, that the Andromeda Nebula was not a nebula of gas, it was a galaxy of stars. And just let that sink in a minute. 100 years ago, we thought the Milky Way galaxy was the entire universe. All right. Now, I've got the best, smartest people watching Stay Curious and our Stay Star Curious. As you know, that at first the Hubble, then the Webb telescope has discovered billions of distant galaxies at all phases of evolution. That's what the Webb's trying to do, is see the earliest formation of galaxies when the universe was formed 14 billion years ago. All right, at least that's what we think. So, but we didn't know 100 years ago that there were other galaxies like ours, and now we know billions of them. So this is how mankind exponentially increases his knowledge, because it's just like me. Maybe they'll be saying 100 years from now, you know, how silly were they to think 100 years ago that there was no life in the universe? We have found amoebas in our solar system. We found maybe not people, aliens, intelligent, but we're going to find life teeming all over the universe. I guarantee it. And I guarantee you, when you look up at night, somebody's looking back. All right. Well, Hubble, very interesting guy, also contemporary of Einstein. They were befriended by the most influential person in Hollywood, which was Charlie Chaplin. All right, Charlie Chaplin became a very famous mogul after his silent film career, and he loved hanging out with Einstein and Hubble, considered the two smartest guys on the planet, and they loved the adulation also. They loved meeting the movie stars and had a lot of fun at that. Someone needs to make a movie about Hubble and Einstein hanging out with the Hollywood crowd because they were kind of eat up with it. All right. Well, another amazing fact is if the Milky Way, if the Andromeda Galaxy was visible as bright as the moon, or say it's about fifth magnitude, right around fourth magnitude, I'm going to say. Magnitude is an arbitrary scale where fourth magnitude is 2.5 times fainter than third magnitude. The lower the number, the brighter the object is. So this is showing you the moon size, a half a degree across, and that the Andromeda Galaxy occupies a full 2 degrees of the night sky. All right, if we could photograph it like this, side by side, much larger than the size of the moon, which is a half a degree. You can always cover up the moon with your little finger and an arm stretched arm. Okay, that's about 1 degree. And it would take you 2 fingers to cover up the Andromeda Galaxy if we could see it in all of its glory, bright and in our sky. Isn't that incredible? This galaxy is so close, it would look this big to us if we could see it. Yet amateur astronomers like me know that because you can see it in the backyard with your binoculars. So go check it out. Here's a close-up of the Andromeda Galaxy with the Hubble telescope, just showing you a piece of it. The nucleus has a black hole at the center like Earth. The dark areas are gaseous areas where stars are being born still in this still rather young galaxy. And this is a Hubble telescope and a Webb telescope view of the Andromeda Galaxy. Now, the Webb telescope is infrared. Infrared means heat, radiation. So where this heat radiation is are energetic areas where stars are being born. Okay. And isn't that so cool to see the comparison there? And this is like, whoa, look at this, baby. The Andromeda Galaxy in the best telescope by the Webb. Oh my God, it's just so rich in data there. There's been it's a combination of infrared and a couple other wavelengths, but around every star in the background is not a star. This is a galaxy far, far away behind the Andromeda Galaxy, which astronomers know is called M31. All right, and Messier, a French astronomer, this was the 31st object on his list. He said, well, it kind of looks like a comet, but it's not moving. Wish it was because it's pretty big. So it goes down as number 31 in my catalog, so I don't can tell other people. I've already looked at this. It doesn't move. It's not a comet. It's something else. And they all look like faint fuzzies underneath your bed, kind of gray little oblong features in the sky. But we don't see these in the background. This is the Webb telescope doing its thing, showing the infrared radiation. Now, there are several small galaxies, like the one in the upper right-hand corner at 2 o'clock, that is orbiting the Andromeda Galaxy. Well, let's move from the Andromeda Galaxy, and I've told you about Fomalhaut. Not told you about Fomalhaut. Saturn is right there in the center. Pisces. Remember I told you where the head of Pisces was? Pisces is actually 2 fish together on a fisherman's string. You've got Aquarius. You're not going to see the stars of Aquarius from your backyard. They're too faint. And this is Cetus the whale right here. And you might see this one star of it. And then over is the southern fish, different from Pisces. All right. The southern fish has Fomalhaut in it. And Fomalhaut translates in Arabic to mouth of the fish. Fomalhaut, okay? A mouth. Sculptor is a tool used. So the 88 constellations are named after instruments, very popular in the hundreds. And when all these things were officially named, you got fish, you got animals, you got tools of the trade, and you got a few people in space. And among our constellations of these dot to dot patterns, and my good friend Marty running the board here, he is not going to claim to know that none of these look like they're supposed to, Marty. This is a area of the sky that I want you to tell you is in the southeast, if you look. And when you look up at it tonight, southeast, as opposed to looking to the north, you see the W Cassiopeia. To the west, you see the Milky Way and the bright stars of summer setting. I'm not going to get into those. But when you look in this southern area there, there's not many bright stars at all. And Saturn is really nice and yellowish, and Fomalhaut is kind of nice and white, and they're the only two bright stars in the whole area. Well, eliminate Saturn, that's only in this area once every 30 years because it takes 30 years to go around the sky once. So Fomalhaut has gotten the reputation of also being called the lonely one, all right? Because it was all by itself and a fairly bright star that you can see. Well, don't feel sorry for it because there we go, Fomalhaut is Impiscus austrianus, the southern fish. Fish are so important that there's several of them named in the sky. Grus is a bird on the bottom there, sculpture. So Fomalhaut is also more to it than meets the eye. You can't see this except with a super duper powerful telescope because when we've looked at Fomalhaut with space telescopes, and this is with just a bright it's a beautiful bright star when depicted like this through a telescope. The X are the part of the telescope that's inside of it. But we were astonished when major telescopes orbiting the Earth looked at Fomalhaut and found it has a ring around it. And around this ring is a planetary disk that is forming right now planets as we speak. And in the center, the star, Fomalhaut, has started to burn brightly and is clearing out as you've got objects around it. As you see, the clumps are formation of planets around Fomalhaut, without a doubt. I kid you not. This is the Hubble telescope with its fabulous 30-year run, now over 30-year run. You see Fomalhaut's in the center, location of Fomalhaut. There is a dust ring that goes around it. There's a dust halo and dust ring around it. Okay. And as you see, they are tracking an object that is a planet seen in 2004, 2006, 2010, and 2012. And of course, we've got another 10 years of data on this in this rather old picture, but still depicts what you're seeing. Again, this is 13 minutes of arc, okay? This is twice the size of the Milky Way. The moon would cover this up. Okay, it's about a degree across. The moon would not cover it all up. It almost would. And then the Hubble Webb telescope showing you more. Look at how it's zeroing in on planets being created like we think were created around our own sun in our solar system. So a lot of data going on here. A big dust cloud occupying everything, and planets are forming, coalescing, clumping together, we think is the process. As other debris is coalesced, coagulates, if you will, like blood, becomes thick, then lumps together, and solid bodies are created, and then over another couple billion years, maybe life forms on those planets. Fomalhaut at the bottom right, and Saturn in the middle. Two distinct bright stars you will see tonight. Now, when the moonlight shines out, you will see both of these still. But any other stars you see around there, good luck from your light polluted background. Now let's finally talk about Saturn to end our program today. Saturn and its glorious rings were edge on, like the top picture last year. All right, just 4 years ago, there in 2014, my buddy Johnny Horn took this collage together, and just 3 years ago in the 2020s, Saturn's rings were wide open. Uh, they go through this tilt uh, by the it's partly caused by the tilt of the Earth's axis at 23.5 degrees in our line of sight and distance across 1 billion miles to Saturn. Now, I showed a couple dozen people Saturn Saturday night at the Native American Festival. It looks like the top picture, like a spike is going through it. Last year, it actually almost disappeared. They almost disappear from view. But then they're opening up gently. Next year they'll be more like the Betelgeuse. It'll take 3 or 4 years to open up, like at the bottom picture there. What are the rings made of? Why do they almost disappear? They must be awful thin, Mark. Oh yeah, the rings are so thin. Let me just give you this ratio. If the Saturn's rings were the thickness of this paper right here, the diameter of this paper would be 20 miles. That is the ratio. A 20-mile sheet of paper, edge on, you can see that these rings are mighty, mighty thin. In fact, would you believe me if I said the rings are no thicker than 1/4 of a mile? That's right, 1,250 feet is the thickest areas of Saturn's rings. And if you want to be mesmerized by some awesome pictures like this one, and the pictures of the moons that are keeping caretakers, so to speak, of these rings, look up the Cassini NASA space mission, Cassini, Cassini, named after a great Italian astronomer, spent 12 years orbiting Saturn. They actually several times dive bombed the Cassini in between the rings and the planet, all right, to see what that was like. And these rings, as you see, are like phonographic grooves. Phonographic records have come back. Your 33 1/3 LP records, long playing records. They are a sheet of rock, ice. The A ring is a combination. They named them hundreds of years ago to define them. The gap in the middle is the Cassini's division. All right, the Cassini first saw when he looked at it, and it looked like two distinct rings because of this big gap in the middle. The gap is not as distinguished when you see it up close because it's filled with a lot of debris. So, how old are the rings? Are they 10 million years old or a billion years old? Some think that they might be as recent as maybe, 1 million years old or 500,000 years old. What happened to create them? Well, we know that when a rocky body gets close to a planet, it can be ripped apart at what they call the Roche limit, ROCHE limit. Now, these are small bodies, moons of Saturn, that, as you see, are embedded within the rings, and they are actually shepherd rings. Look at Pan at the bottom. Pan looks like a pop bottle top, okay, that she's just flipped off, or half of almost like an acorn shell. It is actually inside of that ring, F, and creating a gap in it, all right? And oh my gosh, the other ones are also the same. They have something to do with keeping us. Yet look at the rings. Oh my gosh, just incredible. The more detail, closer you get, the more detail you see. The rings closer here are covered with ice. These are more rocky bodies. This is like gravel out in the road. Nothing very big, and again, only a 1/4 mile thick. Did you say that? Yes, I did. And at the edge of the rings, look at this. These moons that I showed you here, Marty, are actually, some of them, like Daphnis there, is pulling up on this outer ring. Look at the shadows to show you that is like structures lifted up out of the ring. All right. So the rings are also smashing into each other and creating a malaise of dust and debris that can be lifted up by the gravity. And look at the shadows there, like little mini mountains on top of these rings. And here is another, this is that moon pan, okay, as it is inside of one of the rings. And just like gravity, just like moon's gravity affecting the Earth's tides, okay, there you see this gravity of this small moon, only about 10 miles in diameter. This moon is lifting up debris like a wake behind it. So much we don't know to be so fascinated about. Yet I want you to go outside and look at the rings. And to do that, you do need a telescope. You can't see them with binoculars. So get tuned into your local astronomy club when they're going to be having a stargaze next week. The moon will be up and visible, so later this weekend for sure. So maybe Robert Law in Dundee, Scotland. I know he's showing people at the observatory there in Dundee, Saturn, and he'll be able to show them the moon next later this week and all next week. So that's what we're seeing in our backyard. And Steve Jokums, I know that you can't wait to get outside and check it out and see Andromeda Galaxy. Again, my buddy Johnny Horn, he's up there in North Carolina. He worked for the Fayetteville newspaper for decades and is one of the premier backyard popularizers of astronomy in there. And this beautiful picture he took from his backyard. If only Hubble could have seen this picture in the 1900, he wouldn't have been piddling around so late with all his theories and so forth. So thank you all for watching and staying star curious with me today. Marty, did we have any questions at all?
No.
Steve Jokums, thank you for watching. Rosalie Jubilee, Gary Gerald. Gary, I'm going to go up to Collins, Georgia one day and stargaze in his backyard. Rocket Lady Elizabeth is watching. Thank you for your Galactic Medallion tours visiting our museum. Mitch Rothman is up there in Colorado. He knows what those dark skies are like. And Mitch, you're the perfect place to see the Andromeda Galaxy with your naked eye. It'll look just like a fuzzy patch in the sky. And then you put your binoculars on it, you'll love it. Carlton Bailey, thank you for watching. And Tom Usiak, Dean Babcock, Doug Forrest, Mark Fell, Cliff Watson. Now, he's down in Pomona, Australia, and everything's upside down. But it's still the same stars, right, Cliffy? James Gibson, thank you for joining our star party today, along with Mostly Parked and Rathew Piranha. Okay, thank you all for watching. Stay curious today. Go get you a star chart somewhere or download one. You can put red cellophane over a light, okay, that doesn't hurt your eyes as you're watching it and trying to figure out. And all of a sudden it'll go, yeah, I get it. I see what Mark's talking about. There is a big, great square overhead. It's big, bigger than you think. Alpharats, yep. So just like Mick Jagger said, I'm 2,000 light years from home, and I will see you on Alpharats, okay? Mark Marquette saying, stay curious and stay star curious. And get out in your backyard, okay? Because that is the ultimate place to what? To bridge the space between us. Thank you so much. Go get some starlight in your eyes, and we'll see you again soon.